Morning, another day, another real world test. Today we're doing it on the Apple Vision Pro, and I'm sure you have seen it everywhere by now, but I promise this video is not me just wandering around with it on my face. And frankly, I don't think there's a reason to use this in public, and anyone that you see on the internet doing so is more likely than not doing it to be intentionally evocative to simply get views. So, regardless, unlike my laptop, phone, earbuds, e-bike, etc. real-world tests that I usually do here on the channel, we won't be exploring very much, as this is just not a product that you should be out and about with in that sense. But it is a proper real-world test of how this product should be used, and I actually think I have some things to show you guys that you probably haven't seen just yet. So, without further ado, let's test out this new headset, but first things first. Coffee. Check. And let's start with some of the basics of how Apple Vision Pro works for those unfamiliar really quick. Essentially, it has displays inside, one for each eye, and you can get magnetic prescription lenses made by Zeiss included in the price if you need them. I am nearsighted, so a pair of these helped me out. There are cameras on the outside that capture the outside world, and then they project that on the displays on the inside, and the apps you see are then overlaid on top of that world view. There are also cameras on the bottom of the headset used to track your hands, as well as some cameras inside tracking your eye movement, the main way that you interact with the device. Basically, you look at something, and then you use your hands to interact with it, pinching your fingers to select, pinching and flicking to scroll up or down, and pinching and dragging on the line under an app to move it, or the corner of the app to resize it. Now, a lot of this is similar to other XR headsets, but there are definitely some differences. The hand tracking, for example, is on other devices here and there, but it's nowhere near as intuitive or well-tracked as here. The eye tracking is also something very intuitive and something I really haven't seen very well implemented anywhere else, and the OS itself is built for these interactions instead of controller first like others. Honestly, for me, one of the most impressive things about this device is that eye and hand tracking. I've used other devices, albeit a long time ago, with similar features, and none of them have even come close to how good this is. Also, the resolution and the sharpness of the displays and the exterior cameras is noticeably better than, say, the Meta Quest 3. And yes, considering the price gap between these, it should be. The world view, though, because of that, is way sharper, and it actually uses a clever way of sharpening only what you're looking at thanks to that eye tracking to save on processing and battery, compared to having the entire display sharp all the time. It's also how your eyes actually work, kind of. Now, it's also noticeably heavier than other headsets, and it actually feels like it's kind of pulling down on my cheeks a bit, but even with that, I'm able to use it for a decent amount of time. The secondary head strap that adds a bit more support helps with that, though, to some degree, but it definitely doesn't negate it for me, at least. Okay, but what can you actually do with it?
Hello.
Well, I assume you're familiar already with how it works, as this video is going live well after its release, and I'm sure there were a ton of other videos that you probably watched before you got to this one. So I will spare you the in-depth walkthrough. But basically, you can use Vision Pro specific apps that either open in a movable, resizable window in front of you, or open as a full world view, aka virtual reality, and you are immersed inside the app. We also have iPad apps that you can run, which also open in one of these floating, movable, resizable windows as well. Now, these apps aren't without glitches here and there. I actually had a bunch of them crash many times when I first got the device on launch day and a little bit thereafter. But I will say I haven't had any issues lately compared to then. Developers have jumped on fixing things, as has Apple themselves. More on that later. Now, the apps that really shine, of course, are the ones made for Vision Pro that take advantage of the spatial awareness. Some good examples of this being 3D puzzle apps, where you can walk around a puzzle and rotate it and put pieces together. There's actually a really fun DJ app that gives you a DJ-like deck that you can put vinyl on and actually scratch and do mixing, and actually kind of mimics the feeling of really DJing a set, which is kind of cool. And even apps like this one, that you can take 3D models and take them apart and put them back together and see inside them, and it's just kind of a neat educational learning tool and kind of showcases some of the spatial awareness abilities that you can do on this. Something else cool is how it automatically recognizes Apple MacBooks, for example, that you're logged into with the same account, and it pops up an option over it to connect, and then you can use it with the Vision Pro. That automatic interaction itself just It just feels kind of like the future, honestly. This then allows you to, say, use your MacBook and put a giant version of the screen in the air or multiple windows to mimic a floating set of monitors, which is actually kind of useful. I even tried while traveling using a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse connected to the Apple Vision Pro to just be more comfortable in bed while using it. One thing that's truly impressive, though, is the fact that the apps just feel like they're physically in the space. Like, Apple does a good job of that. And the ability to pin these app windows wherever you want and then leave the room, take off the device, even go from one building to another and have the apps still remain where you originally put them is impressive. So that's kind of a quick gist of what you can do with it, but what should you do with it? And what justifies that $3,500 price tag? So as mentioned, this should not be used in public. It should be used maybe at a desk of an office or in your apartment, with maybe the exception of like on an airplane, because that's the only scenario I can think of where your actual laptop might be difficult to use, like cramped in an airplane seat. You will, of course, still look like a potentially pretentious, because everyone knows at this point how much this thing costs, bug in front of strangers, but I guess at least does solve a problem in that case and gives you more screen real estate. Beyond that, though, the laptop with multiple screens is a use case that is pretty solid, as is maybe using it to surf the web in bed and gaming, or using it in your living room to, say, watch 3D movies is a good use too. But I'd still have a hard time justifying the cost, especially when other headsets like the $500 MetaQuest 3 can also do these things, not as well for sure, but relatively well enough for a seventh of the price. But what if your profession could actually use a spatially aware computer, or there was somewhere where maybe it could kind of pay for itself? I used it not too long ago to help design a kitchen. I used a free app and was able to place kitchen items like cabinets, a stove, etc. where I thought they should go, and then use that to show the contractor, who then built the cabinets, and it truly felt like a useful addition to that workflow. It meant less back and forth, a better job was done, etc. Now, if my contractor had one, and he could then use it to show his prospective clients what his work would look like when it was done, and that could maybe help him make sales. In fact, 3D rendering is a common marketing tactic for interior designers, architects, and others that is known to help sell clients and increase revenue. They can all also create models way more intuitively as well using the Apple Vision Pro. Way better than like a CAD software that you would traditionally use in 2 dimensions. Now again, you could technically do this on a Meta Quest, but these more professional apps don't really exist, or at least not good ones, on the Meta Quest. And part of that is because of the fact that the Meta Quest's own marketing portrays it as more of an entertaining toy. Developers and designers don't necessarily think of it as much of a tool. And there are some exceptions to that, but for the most part, that's true. But Apple, traditionally very recognized by designers as a tool for their jobs, they don't have that hurdle. Regardless though, Apple still needs developers to make apps that are specific to the Apple Vision Pro to make it really useful. Which is why, whether qualifying it as a business expense is how people could maybe justify the cost better, the truth is that this feels very much like Apple didn't call this a developer kit, even if it kinda might have been that. You see, if they called it a developer kit, then only developers would have bought one, really. But what if they just launched it with a high price tag, something usually common for some developer kits, as the developers can justify that high cost as a necessary investment to create the apps that they will in turn maybe make money from somehow, and let's just let everyone buy it. People get more excited, they use it in public and do things to get views, it takes over the news cycle like it did, and developers just happen to notice the buzz and decide to work on it from that. Brilliant, if true, no? So, to just answer the question, if you can use this to make money for a business that could benefit in some way from spatial awareness in an app overlaid on the real world, you'd be a good candidate for buying and using the Apple Vision Pro right now, even, possibly. But more likely, if we're honest, if you're a developer and you're looking to make spatially aware apps, and Apple is maybe the demographic that you're going for, then you're really who this product is for, if we're honest. And there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Please let me know in the comments below what you thought of this video, what you think of the Apple Vision Pro, and if you're not already, please subscribe and ding the bell so you get notified when I do new videos. I, on the other hand, am gonna go play more of those 3D puzzles maybe for a bit. Night.